The Ohio State Reformatory, located in Mansfield, Ohio, first opened its doors in 1896 with the original mission of rehabilitating young, first-time offenders. Architect Levi T. Schofield designed the prison with a blend of architectural styles, including Gothic and Romanesque elements. The towering stone facade was meant to inspire inmates and the public alike, a symbol of reform and redemption. But the institution's lofty goals didn't align with the harsh realities of prison life. Over the years, the reformatory became overcrowded, housing more prisoners than it was designed to accommodate. As the population swelled, conditions deteriorated, and the once idealistic prison became known for its brutality. Prisoners were subjected to hard labor, poor living conditions, and violence, often leading to disease, mental breakdowns, and death. These desperate circumstances left a lasting stain on the building, one that some believe opened a doorway to darker forces. Inmate deaths and suicides. The death toll within the reformatory walls was high, with prisoners succumbing to violence, disease, and in many cases, suicide. Among the most notorious deaths is that of James Lockhart, an inmate who chose a horrific way to end his life. Lockhart, who was serving time for auto theft, set himself on fire in his cell, a grim act that left an indelible mark on the East Cell block, where his charred remains were found. Many believe that Lockhart's tortured soul still lingers in the prison, particularly in the area where he died. Then there's the story of Robert Daniels, an infamous inmate who made headlines for his daring escape from the reformatory in 1948. Along with fellow inmate John West, Daniels went on a crime spree, killing a number of people before they were finally caught. Daniels' eventual execution by electric chair didn't end his association with the reformatory. Visitors have reported hearing the rattling of chains and ghostly footsteps near the cells where Daniels and West were once held, as though their spirits are still trying to escape. Another grim story comes from solitary confinement, also known as the Hole, where inmates were kept in isolation, often for extended periods. With no light and limited human contact, the psychological torment was immense. Many prisoners couldn't bear the conditions, and some took their own lives in these tiny, claustrophobic cells. Today, the energy in solitary confinement remains heavy and oppressive, with many visitors claiming to feel suffocated by the atmosphere. While the Ohio State Reformatory is known for its history of incarceration, it's the stories of paranormal activity that truly captivate visitors. The haunted reputation of the reformatory isn't just a product of its grim history. It's been built on countless encounters with the unknown. From disembodied voices to shadow figures and physical sensations, the prison's haunted areas are numerous. Let's take a tour of some of the most notorious paranormal hotspots within the reformatory. East Cell Block. The East Cell Block is the largest freestanding steel cell block in the world, and it holds some of the most intense paranormal activity in the entire prison. This towering structure houses hundreds of small, cramped cells stacked on top of one another in a dizzying vertical arrangement. It's a place of immense psychological weight, where the energy of thousands of incarcerated men seems to have imprinted itself into the very fabric of the building. Visitors to the East Cell Block often report a feeling of being watched, as if unseen eyes are tracking their every movement. Others claim to see shadowy figures darting in and out of the cells, disappearing as quickly as they appear. Some even describe hearing whispers in the dead silence of the block, voices that seem to come from nowhere. But the most chilling phenomena are the cold spots that appear in certain parts of the cell block, inexplicably dropping the temperature by several degrees. Some visitors have described these cold spots as feeling like an icy hand brushing against their skin, a sensation that is both physical and deeply unsettling. The chapel. The prison's chapel, once a place for spiritual reflection and religious services, is now a hotspot for supernatural encounters. Many visitors have described feeling an overwhelming sense of unease while in the chapel, as though they are being watched by an unseen presence. This area is notorious for sudden temperature drops, and some have even heard whispers or voices that seem to come from the walls themselves. Perhaps the most unsettling encounters come from those who have been left alone in the chapel. Several visitors have reported the sensation of being touched or even pushed by invisible forces. Paranormal investigators who have spent time in the chapel have recorded EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, that suggests spirits are still trying to communicate from beyond. The Warden's Quarters. The Warden's Quarters is another area where the paranormal activity seems to be tied directly to a tragic event. In 1950, Helen Glatke, the wife of Warden Arthur Glatke, died in the quarters under mysterious circumstances. The official report stated that she accidentally shot herself while retrieving a handgun from a closet. But some have speculated that the circumstances of her death are far more sinister. Ever since her death, visitors and staff have reported strange occurrences in the Warden's Quarters. Unexplained cold spots are common, as are sudden, strong smells of perfume, believed to be Helen's lingering presence. Some visitors have even heard the distinct sound of footsteps, as though someone is pacing through the rooms. Many believe that Helen's spirit is still tethered to the place where she died so tragically. The infirmary. The prison's infirmary is another area steeped in darkness. During its years in operation, the infirmary was a place where countless prisoners died, either from disease, injury, or neglect. The medical staff at the reformatory was often overwhelmed by the sheer number of patients, and many prisoners simply wasted away in their beds, forgotten by the outside world. Today, the infirmary is a hotspot for paranormal activity. Visitors often describe feeling an overwhelming sense of sorrow and despair when walking through the area. Some claim to have seen ghostly figures lying on the decayed hospital beds, while others have heard the moaning of patients long since dead. The air in the infirmary is thick with a feeling of hopelessness, as if the suffering that took place there has imprinted itself into the walls. The Hole, solitary confinement. Perhaps the most terrifying area of the Ohio State Reformatory is the Hole, or solitary confinement. This small, windowless room was used to punish prisoners by placing them in complete isolation for days or even weeks. The psychological toll was immense, with many prisoners driven to madness or even suicide during their time in the Hole. Today, visitors to solitary confinement report feelings of intense fear and unease. Some have claimed to hear screams or banging sounds coming from the walls, even when no one else is around. Others have experienced sudden drops in temperature or the sensation of being watched by something unseen. Paranormal investigators have recorded EVP and strange electromagnetic readings in this area, further fueling its reputation as one of the most haunted spots in the reformatory. Each year, Ohio State Reformatory transforms into one of the most popular haunted house attractions in the country, drawing thousands of visitors eager for a scare. The prison's natural, eerie atmosphere is enhanced by elaborate set designs, skilled actors, and terrifying props designed to make even the bravest scream. But while the haunted house events are meant to be theatrical and fun, many visitors report experiencing something far more unsettling: encounters with what can only be described as real spirits. Haunted house workers often report strange experiences during the setup and breakdown of the events. One worker claimed to have seen a figure dressed in prison garb, standing silently in the shadows, only for the figure to vanish into thin air. Others have heard disembodied voices calling their names or felt cold hands brush against them, despite being alone. Visitors, too, have reported similar experiences. While walking through the haunted house, some have seen figures that didn't seem to belong to the show, shadowy apparitions that vanished as soon as they were spotted. Others have felt an overwhelming sense of dread or nausea, which dissipated once they left the area. Over the years, Ohio State Reformatory has become a prime destination for paranormal investigators. Equipped with EMF detectors, thermal cameras, and EVP recorders, these investigators seek to capture evidence of the supernatural. Many of them have left the reformatory with compelling and chilling results. One of the most famous pieces of evidence is an EVP recording captured in the East Cell Block. As investigators asked questions in the empty halls, a clear, chilling voice responded with the words, "Help me." The voice was distinctly male, though there were no other men in the area at the time. Thermal cameras have also captured ghostly figures, often in areas where no one should be. These figures appear as glowing silhouettes on the camera feed, only to disappear moments later. EMF readings have spiked in specific areas, particularly near solitary confinement and the infirmary, suggesting an unseen presence may be lurking in these parts of the prison. The Ohio State Reformatory is more than just a piece of history. It's a place where the past refuses to rest. The ghosts of former inmates, wardens, and staff seem to still walk its darkened halls, bound by the violence, death, and despair they experienced in life. For those who dare to visit, the Reformatory offers not only a glimpse into history, but a chilling brush with the unknown. Whether you're attending the haunted house attractions or investigating the paranormal activity, one thing is clear: the Ohio State Reformatory holds secrets that may never fully be understood. And for those brave enough to step inside, it's an experience that lingers long after the tour is over.